Hello everyone, I am Dr. Nagraj Kharade, Assistant Professor in English, Shri Omkarnath Malpani Law College, Sangamner. I welcome you all to this video lecture. In this video, we are going to learn a very interesting topic, that is sale deed. I have divided my presentation into 4 parts. Number 1, introduction to deed. Number 2, definition of sale deed. 3, structure of sale deed. And 4th, the actual drafting of deed. So, let us get started. First of all, it is very much important to know what is deed. So, deed is nothing but a legal document that is signed, attested and delivered by a person or authority, and which transforms or confirms an interest, right or property. In short, it is a written document or instrument that conveys a legal right or obligation. So, moving on to the next point, what is sale deed? It is nothing but a document again by which ownership in property is transferred in exchange for a price, that is consideration. It is governed by section 54 of the TPA 1882, that is Transfer of Property Act. It must be executed and registered for immovable properties above rupees 100, and it is a key for establishing ownership. As far as the structure of a sale deed is concerned, it includes around 8 to 9 points. First one is title, that is sale deed. Second, date and place of execution, details of the parties, recitals, background of the transaction, operative clauses, if any, the actual transfer of rights, considerable clauses if applicable, and description of the property, warranties and indemnities, and finally, signature of parties and witnesses. Signature of parties and witnesses. So, let us have a task. Decide the details for the sale deed, in which you can decide again the following points. Again you can decide all these things. For example, title is fixed. So, you have to decide the date and place, details of parties, background of the transaction, the actual transfer of rights, witnesses, and so on and so forth. So, now we shall dive into the actual drafting of sale deed. So, as soon as you come across drafting sale deed, you have to put a title on the top of the page, that is sale deed. And once you write down the sale deed title, you have to mention this part, that is date and place of execution. So, you can mention this date of sale made at Ahilyanagar, this 29th day of July 2025. This deed of sale is made and executed at Ahilyanagar, this 29th day of July 2025. So, this has to be the beginning of sale deed. So, once you write down the title, that is sale deed, and this line, that is this deed of sale made at Ahilyanagar, this 29th day of July 2025, you have to write down between, and you have to write one party, that is Shri Rajendra Dattatreya Kulkarni. You can mention his age, his profession and his address, and after that you can consider him as a first part. Secondly, you can mention and then you can go for the second party, that is vendor and vendee. So, you have to mention both the details of both the parties, that is vendor and vendee. After that, the next part comes, that is you have to mention the background of the transaction, wherein you can say that vendor decided to sell and dispose of the said property. So, this is the first point that you have to mention in the sale deed. Secondly, the purchaser or vendor approached the vendor with a proposal to purchase and acquire the said property. Third point comes that the purchaser has offered the best of the possible terms to the vendor. Then next point is the vendor has agreed to sell, transfer and convey the said property unto the purchaser. Next is the parties hereto have entered into an agreement to sell on 15 June 2025 in respect of the said property, and in pursuance of the said agreement to sell dated 15 June 2025, the parties here to have decided to complete the said transaction. It means that here you can see the background of the transaction when the actual vendor decided to sell his property and how the vendee has approached him and decided all the things, and finally they came to a conclusion in terms of sale agreement. After completion of the background of the transaction, here comes the main aspect of the deed, wherein you can see this deed witnesseth as follows. So, there can be around 7 to 8 points. Let us see one by one. So, number 1 is that in pursuance of the agreement to sale dated 15 June 2025, the vendor does hereby sale, transfer and convey his property. So, it means the vendor is ready to sell his property and is also given the details of the property like plot number, survey number, area, that is village, and then finally district. All the details can be seen over here, and then described in further details in the schedule here under, unto the purchaser to have and to hold the same forever as the absolute owner thereof. So, it is the first and foremost thing of this deed, wherein it mentions that the transaction has been completed and the ownership will be of the purchaser and not the vendor. Second point, it comes wherein it focuses on the transaction or the amount or consideration can be concerned. So, that by way of consideration for the said sale, transfer and conveyance, the purchaser had paid at the time of the execution of the said agreement to sale dated 15 June 2025 towards earnest money and part payment a sum of rupees 1 lakh. So, it mentions that the purchaser has paid him 1 lakh and now he was supposed to pay 11 lakh 50,000 which he has paid during the transaction, and now therefore no amount is now due from the purchaser. So, it mentions that the entire financial transaction is completed by the vendor and vendee and it is ready for the sale deed. Then the third point comes that the vendor has today put the purchaser in actual possession of the said property. So, these are all the conditions, these are all the transaction details of the said property. That the vendor, number 4, that the vendor does hereby declare and confirm that he shall have no right, title or interest in or over the said property or any part thereof from this date onward. It means from now onward the vendor has no authority, no interest, no right or no title on the said property, as it is the property of the purchaser, that is vendee. Next is that the purchaser shall take necessary steps to get his name entered in the record of rights in respect of the said property. And next one is number 6, that the vendor does hereby assure the purchaser that he has a clear, marketable and unencumbered title to the said property and that it is not subject to any litigation, requisition or acquisition proceedings. It means the property is clear and it is not objectionable. Point number 7 is that the vendor has applied for, obtained and furnished to the purchaser all the necessary permissions, exemptions and legal clearances as required under the applicable laws. So, all these things have to be mentioned in the sale deed. Point number 8, that the vendor assures the purchaser that all taxes, cesses and charges payable in respect of the said property till date have been duly paid and any liabilities arising after the date of this deed shall be borne by the purchaser, that is vendee. And point number 9, that as agreed between the parties, all expenses towards stamp duty and registration have been borne by the purchaser. So, entire expenses have to be borne by the purchaser, that is the point. So, here are the 9 points that we have mentioned in the sale deed. So, now next comes, that is the schedule of the property. So, in Marathi it is Chatusima. So, all that piece and parcel of land known as plot number 22 out of survey number 201 at measuring approximately 2200 square feet, situated at Revenue Village Bhingar, Taluka and District Ahilanagar, within the jurisdiction of Ahilanagar Municipal Corporation and bounded as under. So, here now how the plot is covered by 4 sides. The east is covered by internal road, for the west, towards the west it is plot number 23, towards the north plot number 25 and towards south plot number 21. So, you have to mention all the details related to the property, related to the plot properly. After this, it comes to the end of the sale deed, in which we have to mention the doers, I mean vendors and vendees details and signature. So, it is the second last part of the deed, in which we mention that in witness whereof the parties here to have signed this deed at Pune on day, month and year first above written. So, here we have mentioned Ahilanagar, so it can be Ahilanagar instead of Pune. So, after that we can mention the vendor signature, his signature and his name, followed by purchaser, that is vendee, his signature followed by again his name, and finally it is the signatures of both the witnesses. So, you can see name Srimati Rekha Jadhav, her address and signature, followed by the second witness, that is Shri Nilesh Pawar, his address and his signature. So, this is the actual end of sale deed. I hope you understood it well. Thank you. So, I have used some of the references, these are the list of references. Thank you very much.